r/ask Reddit. What company will never see another dime of your money? Hertz Car Rental. My rental car's tire popped out of the blue whilst I was driving through Germany. They acknowledged that it was not my fault and I was not charged. But I was charged for the damage that a popping tire caused to the body of the car despite it being a direct consequence. They took my money without my consent and then refused to pay me back. Luckily it was for a work trip so I didn't need to worry and was compensated. But still, duck hurts. I've posted my Hertz experience before, and I'll gladly post it again. Was in Seattle for work and took a few days off to fly the girlfriend up and go to Olympic National Park over 4th of July weekend. Went to pick up the rental car I had reserved from the local Hertz location and was told by the associate that they didn't have enough cars and the 2 people in line ahead of me were getting the last 2 cars they had. I step off to the side to call Hertz corporate while the guy is helping these 2 people and I'm told the only cars available in the area are at the airport, a $50 cab ride away, and that it would be over double the cost of what I had reserved online. I asked them to check local places in the area and was assured I would be called back. I walk back over to talk to the local agent to find he had bailed without saying a single word to me. So at this point I'm 40 minutes from the airport. My girlfriend is getting ready to land. We still had a 2-hour drive to make that night, and no rental car for the trip unless I wanted to pay over double the original cost. I wait for the call back, of course don't get one, and call again 30 minutes later. I get told the same thing and request to speak to a manager who of course just stepped out but will call you right back when he is in. Another 30 minutes later, another call and this time I tell them I am staying on the line until they connect me with a manager or someone who can get me a car at the price I reserved. The associate told me they couldn't stay on the line with me and promptly hung up. Duck everything about that company. And to add something I forgot, I was traveling enough for work at the time that I was one of their Hertz Gold Plus blah 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 rewards people. Literally had rented a car Monday Friday for 48 weeks of the year for over a year and a half and that's how I was treated. Best Buy. Their sales practices are so shady. The last time I was in there, I bought a laptop, an iPad, and some other things. As I was being rung up, the price sounded a bit off, but I figured maybe I misadded. Then the salesperson escorted me all the way to the door, holding the receipt. When she handed it to me, it had an extra charge of $100 for their tech support, something I had expressly stated I didn't want. I had to go stand in the returns line to take it off. I had to argue with the person there about why I didn't want it along with her trying to convince me why I should keep it. Just price match with Amazon. I use Best Buy when I don't want to wait for shipping. Bob's Discount Furniture. I paid extra $150 for them to remove my old mattress. Apparently, all I paid for was for them to move my old mattress to the curb. A 2-hour phone call later, and they came back the next day to get it. Toys R Us. I don't know what says I'm a boring adult now more. The fact that this juggernaut of my childhood has ended, or that I don't really care, even though I want it. Victoria's Secret. Their stuff has gotten crappier and crappier, and their in-store shopping experience is a nightmare. I can't stand the sales associates. Agree. It used to be expensive because it was quality merchandise. Now you're just paying for the name and the stuff doesn't last any longer than the stuff you get at Target. There has also been a rise in the quality of low-end clothing items. Target and even Walmart have both seen slow but steady rises in quality. I would not go so far as to say their store brand clothes are better or even as good as name brand, but the quality gap between $10 for $15 underwear and $1 for $7 underwear is getting much smaller. Bank of America. I closed my account 2006-ish. I got one of those poor fees when I was in college. I resolved that if this was how they treated me when I was poor, then they clearly didn't want my money when I had a proper post-college job. What's a poor fee? You don't have enough money in your account to meet our minimum balance requirement. Here's a $35 fee because you don't have enough money. But wait, there's more. We see you overdrew your account by $32.44 when we charged you the $35 minimum balance fee. Please enjoy this $25 overdraft charge. Wafer. I've never had such a horrific consumer experience. My husband and I were in the midst of buying a house last October, so I signed up for Wayfair's dinky credit card as a way to buy some stuff interest free for 6 months. I ended up spending around $435. A few weeks after I received my items, I logged into my online account to make a payment on my credit card and see that while my available credit is $65, my balance is $0 and I have nothing due. I call Wayfair. They have no idea what I'm talking about and don't believe me at first, until finally I'm told there was a hold on my order somewhere in the system that wasn't releasing the charge to the credit card bank. I'm told it's released and nothing changed. I call the bank. They say it's still an issue on Wayfair's end. After weeks and hours wasted on the phone with both companies, I end up on a conference call with both Wayfair and the bank and learn that neither entity has any clue what is going on, but the hold on my order was going to remain in place on the 22nd of March, 2018. I literally could do nothing until then. The bank representative put in a credit dispute to see if that would speed up the release, but nothing happened. Last month, I log in to finally make a payment and see that my full balance is available. I have nothing due, and there's an option to close my account, so I did. The next day, Wayfair sends me a threatening email and letter saying they've been trying to contact me for months, lies, and are going to report this to the credit agencies. Let me tell you, I lost my ducking mind. I called up Wayfair and raised unholy hell to someone. It wasn't that I didn't want to pay for my order. It was that this had been ongoing for over half a year at this point with no further communication on their part. I told them I want a payment plan, and I was refused because of the credit dispute that Community Bank did to try and help me, and the CS executive I spoke to refused to believe me when I told him the situation. Eventually, after 20 minutes, he finally decides to review my account notes and offers me the chance to pay 1/3 of the balance and they would eat the remainder. I immediately gave them my payment info, and months later and hours wasted, I'm finally done with Wayfair. Duck them. I ducking hate them and wish nothing more than for them to fold. Their jingles are annoying as duck too. Adobe. Their Creative Cloud subscription was $49.95 a month. After I signed up, they kept increasing the price every month. When it got close to $75 a month, I cancelled. Now they are trying to sell it to me for $49.95 again. Adobe software is very easy to pirate. Duck 'em. I wish I could say Comcast. I am stuck here. Slow internet with AT&T or fast internet with Comcast. It's the same as if I want a bullet in my left lung or right. Aria, a UK computer store. I bought a mouse a couple years ago, but they never shipped it. Every time I emailed, they ignored me. I was writing really witty and clever messages too. Made the suggestion of sending something different if they didn't have the stock. Nope. I get an email with just one line: "This has been refunded." So I emailed back, WTF, and I was ignored. For 2 more weeks, I left a scathing review on Trustpilot, which they suppressed, so I sent an incredibly shitty email. Finally I got a call from one of their sales reps. As an apology, they would give me £10 off my next order, having spent more than £3,000 with them over the previous couple of years. I took this as an insult. I now share my experience whenever I can, to make sure people avoid their absolute shit service. Can confirm. Use them for years. Spent probably £10,000 on stupid PC gaming stuff that I couldn't afford mainly. Then one time, they got my order wrong. Shipped me the wrong heatsink for my board. Never got a response. Never got a refund. Never got an RMA to return the wrong item. Luckily, I'd paid by credit card, so was able to get a chargeback. I kept that incorrect item for years, just in case anything happened with it. Eventually I donated it to a local computer charity. Tried to use my account a few months after that as they had a deal on a B-grade router. My account was put on hold due to problems with an order. Alright, then. See ya. Sprint. Overpriced phones. Crappy network. Final straw was when they demolished the cell tower near my house because residents complained about the view, so I had no signal inside my house, then refused to give me a base station. If I can't make phone calls inside my own home, I'm not going to keep my service with you. As one final parting shot, they refused to unlock my phone unless I paid them for another 6 months of service. Go duck yourself. Sprint. Switch to Cricket. Never been happier. I also love Sprint's recent ad campaign. Our coverage is only slightly worse than what our competitors offer, so don't let that stop you from picking us. I thought I had seen an ad Verizon did as a response that was a car in a ditch and said, "Do you want a 1% chance you can't call an ambulance?" or something like that, but I can't find any reference to it. Verizon. TLDR. They shafted and wrecked the credit of a loyal 7-year customer. I had my wireless account with them for 7 years. I opened the account when I was 18 and had to put down a cash deposit because I had no credit history at the time. So 7 years later I called them to cancel my account. The company I got hired by provided a phone and data plan, so I joined that instead. When I called them, it was 3 days before the 7th year ran out. I informed the rep that I would not be renewing and wanted to close the account on the expiration date. They said, "Oh, sorry to see you go. You were a loyal customer for 7 years, so we'll take care of this and there won't be any early termination fee since you're right at the end of your contract." Great. I was also informed I'd be mailed a check with my deposit return. So the account is cancelled. No more bills. I go on my merry way. A year later I check my credit report and see that my scores have taken a nosedive. These duckers charged a $500 early termination fee on the account, which consumed my initial deposit and placed the account $300 in the red. They then sent the account straight to a collections firm. They did this all on the same day I called to cancel. Not once did I get a phone call or email saying that I owed money on the account. I then had to fight with them and the credit bureaus for 8 months. They ended up just writing off the debt. I never got my deposit back, and it took months to get the negative information off my credit report. My credit got shafted by Verizon also. I was moving overseas, so I called and cancelled my account. They instructed me to return the phones to the nearest store and I wouldn't have to worry about being charged for the phones. So that's what I did. Manager took them, provided me with a receipt that they took it, and I was on my merry way. About 6 months later, got a notice that my credit score crashed. Found out that Verizon was charging me $700 for the 2 phones. I called them and stated that I want one of 2 things to happen. A. I pay the charge, but I get the phones back and unlocked. B. They write off the bill since the phones were returned. All they've done is give me the runaround before finally telling me to duck off because the bill is with collections. Verizon can go duck themselves. Went with fee and been happy ever since. Planet Fitness. I tried to cancel my gym membership when I had cancer and was housebound. They insisted I come in person or send a certified letter. I told them I couldn't leave the house and that they could speak with my oncology office if they needed proof. They didn't care. I cancelled the bank account so they couldn't withdraw another penny. I was so pissed. My brother passed away, so I went to cancel his membership. Brought death certificate. It and such. They were like, nope, he has to come in person. This was from the mouth of the manager there. I can only fass up and leave. Had the bank put a hold on all charges. I always thought it was funny that their slogan is the judgment free zone, then they have a flashing light and siren called the Lunk Alarm that shamed people who made too much noise. Bank of Scotland kept me in debt for a year by changing their student overdraft policy from what they promised me when I signed up. Then a year later, when I was finally out of debt, they changed it back. It was like they were specifically ducking me over. Duck UHBOS. Never again. Any company that uses water or other cheap fears to make ice cream. Some ice creams don't even freeze when they're in the freezer and just stay like if it's slightly melted. Agreed. After working in ice cream for 5 years, I'm a bit of a snob. I don't buy from grocery stores anymore. I have a local farm that I'll get it from occasionally. So many companies put incredible amount of garbage in their products, as fears or preservatives. It makes the ice cream taste weird. If you check the labels at the store, most don't even say ice cream, but rather something like frozen dairy dessert. Control plus F messed up. I'm surprised this hasn't popped up yet. I've started to wait for games to drop in price or waiting for the special edition versions to come out. Much better value for my money. But I can understand those who would rather play the game when it first comes out. Anyways, the reason why I refuse to go to the mess stop anymore is because almost every transaction I've had has been with someone who just won't sell me what I want. Back when GTA V was coming out, I went to get Sleeping Dogs because I hadn't played it yet. Instead of just selling me the game I needed, the cashier hounded me for not putting that money down on GTA V. At first I thought he was joking, but then he held me up for 15 minutes, even after I told him I was not interested in pre-ordering GTA V, trying to convince me not to get Sleeping Dogs and to get GTA V. Furthermore, no, I don't want your card or to pre-order anything else. I just want the game that I know I came here for. XM Sirius Radio. You can sign up in seconds, but cannot cancel your service online. I had a family account, and we had ended up selling a couple cars, so we obviously did not want to pay for those cars anymore. You have to call to cancel. Complete bullshit. Anyways, I still had one radio that I wanted to keep. However, I kept getting hung up on, so I googled it. 273,000 complaints about getting hung up on. So, the next call, I said I am not recording you, but I am recording myself attempting to cancel my radios. They will hang up on you if you tell them you are recording them. It took 40 minutes per radio to cancel, so I said fine, cancel the other one, too, which is upsetting. BC, I love the service, but I can't give money to a company like that. Thanks for the heads up. We had it free for 6 months when I bought my new car. Now we're getting offers to purchase the service. They just lost a potential customer thanks to how they treated you and 273,000 others. Spirit Airlines. Never had such a horrible flight experience or customer service. I've never had a flight with Sprint that wasn't at least 3 hours late. On the other hand, I got to go to Florida for like $15. If you've got time to waste, then it's worth it, Imo. It's not like you're getting your ass beat like at UA. They marked me as a no-show when I was $20 short on physical cash and refused to let me use a card or ATM 2 minutes before entry for the flight closed. Dodge. Bought a 3-stroke 4-ton Dodge pickup in the early 70s. It had vacuum assist power steering. Every once in a while, if you turned right, the wheel would lock up and not allow you to go straight again when you should be coming out of the turn. I would end up on the sidewalk or the grass the first couple of times. I would have to shut off the engine and restart it again in order to be able to turn the wheel at all. Took it to the dealership after every incident and they could find no problem. About the 4th or 5th time I took it back, they told me to quit bringing it to them for that. Next, I wrote and called Dodge Corporate and explained the problem and that the dealership had failed and would not even try anymore. Dodge refused to even get involved in any way. I had paid cash for the truck and so could not just let them repossess it. I was afraid to sell it to anyone because of how dangerous it was to drive, so I parked it on the back 40 and bought a Ford. I still have that Dodge today and anytime I notice it, it reminds me of how corrupt Dodge is. By the way, Dodge, from then to this day, I have bought 7 new Ford pickup trucks. You certainly did screw me, but you screwed yourselves as well. EA. I'm going to be real honest here. 1 week after the Don't Buy Battlefront all over the subreddit, everyone started posted screenshots. Some people asked, so what happened to boycotting the game? They got responses similar to "Stfu Donghead, it's my money. I do what I want." A lot of people who hate EA were never going to buy it anyways. They're core players who are outraged. A heavy amount ended up booing the game. Any company that advertises with loud, auto-playing ads on websites, or any company that uses the page just loaded. Here is the link you wanted, and it's replaced with a spam link the moment before you click it. Bungie. Bungie really ducked up Destiny 2. It's so hard to believe. They were literally given all the building blocks they needed to continue the story and gameplay, etc., that they created, and they threw them out and replaced it with gameplay designed for casual players, abandoning their base, and replacing the story with some light-hearted family-friendly humor to try to appeal to young teens. They managed to accomplish the featuring off pissing off both casual players and their base. Sprint. I survived over 10 rounds of layoffs only to be laid off out of the blue. Switched to T-Mobile that day and let the bill go to collections. I hope they go under, even though it will hurt KC. Duck them. A local law firm. My so needed to get some legal stuff done but was a little short on cash, so I offered to pay for it. He was quoted less than $1,000, but when I got the invoice it was almost 3 times what they quoted and there were discrepancies in the billing. My so and I went to the firm and I very politely asked to speak with someone about the invoice. I made it very clear that I would pay whatever was owed, but I just had a few questions about where the extra charges were coming from. The lawyer took my so aside and told him that he needed to get me under control because I was acting crazy and scaring the receptionist. They ended up taking about $500 off of the bill because we were charged twice for something. There were other bogus charges, but I was younger and felt intimidated. While at the time I didn't have much need for a lawyer, I now run a successful business and have their competitors on retainer. There are certain newspapers in the UK that I steadfastly refuse to support, which gets very annoying when I fly. It's not at all uncommon for places like airports to have offers like buy this newspaper for 50p and get a free bottle of water or biggest chocolate bar worth £1.50. But the newspaper in question is invariably a shitty brag like the Daily Mail or Daily Express, which I don't want to support in any way, shape or form. I generally choose to buy the full price version just so I can tell myself I'm not artificially inflating their circulation count. But there's still part of me that wonders if the giveaway is a loss leader, and if the papers will lose money on my sale, in which case I'd have to seriously consider buying it and tossing the paper in the garbage right away. There's an entire city that refuses to buy The Sun and won't be sold in shops there, and generations that have followed since are still mad at them. Duck tabloids. Now that I live in a city with multiple Krispy Kreme stores, I'm never buying donuts from Tim Hortons again. Bro, I thought you were about to call out KK. Nice save, because otherwise I'd be obligated to throw some internet hate your way. KK is sacred. H&R Block. If you make under $60,000, you can have your taxes done free. You have to find out which service you're covered by, but that's part of the deal all the tax companies make with the US government in order to be allowed to exist. Tim Hortons. Not only is their food and drink absolute garbage, but they treat their employees like shit. MoneyGram. I have no clue how they're still in business. My ex-husband was several thousand behind on child support, so when he filed his federal taxes they took his whole refund and gave it to me. It was like $6,300. I try to maintain a civil, respectful relationship with my ex for the sake of my children, so I offered to give him back half of the tax money. He's a truck driver, so I figured he could use the extra money. He happily accepts, and because he is a truck driver and in a different state, we decide I would send the money to him through MoneyGram since he had a bit of an urgent need for the money and wasn't sure when he'd be back in our home state. I try to send him the money in 2 payments. One for $2,500. One for $650. They allowed the one for $650 to go through. They wouldn't allow the bigger payment to go through though. They said I needed to answer some security questions over the phone. So I call. They ask some very personal questions about my relationship with my ex, and ask me why I'm sending him the money. I told them the truth and they didn't believe me, so said they were canceling the transaction. Okay, fine. I'll just wait and give it to him in person. If only it were that easy. Turns out MoneyGram went ahead and deducted the $2,500 from my account anyway. So I am on the phone with them for 3 hours, with several different people who were obviously from a foreign country. I'm in the USA. They won't give me back my money in person. Said I have to wait and get refunded on my card. But they won't give me a reference number and say it could be 10 business days or more before I see the money back. So I've been waiting 4 weeks to get this money back and have no clue when it'll be returned. I've looked up reviews on them and apparently this is very common. And they will take your money even while denying a transaction and then keep it for however long they want. I have no idea what to do now. No clue when or if I'll get the $2,500 back. I feel really bad for people who send money in an emergency and have this happen because their money can be held up 4 weeks with no way to get access to it. I'm absolutely furious at MoneyGram. Allegiant Airlines. Recently took a flight with them. The departing flight was 3.5 hours late, and another Allegiant flight at the same airport had to turn around and re-land because there was trouble with the plane in the air. Returning flight was on time initially, but we sat on the plane over an hour and a flight attendant said we had to get off for repairs because a bolt on the outside of the plane was loose. Great. Got on the plane 3 hours later and the landing was the scariest thing ever. The pilot must have overshot the runway. He was hitting the brakes so hard and he made a very fast turn, which makes me think he was running out of runway. I understand flights are late sometimes, but both flights. I was traveling with a toddler and specifically flew to make a 8-hour drive into a 2-hour flight, but after all the delays it would have just been easier to drive and I still would have had a pissed off toddler on my hands, but I would have been far less pissed off. I called customer service regarding the departing flight because I paid $80 for my party 3 to sit in the same row. They ended up switching the plane and we were scattered throughout the plane, so OBV I wanted my money back. They were pretty rude. Then I told them next time there is a problem with the plane like the returning plane had problems to tell the attendants to take it seriously. The attendant that came one to tell us about the screw made jokes about it. As a nervous flyer I didn't think it was funny. Customer service said, well, look at this way. At least you arrived safely. Well, yeah, that's like your one goal. It'd be like complaining about the food you didn't like at a restaurant and the manager going, at least you didn't get food poisoning. Never again. They have the oldest fleet in the air and it shows. Jiffy Lube. Friends charged for an air filter that wasn't replaced. They offered me a window wash with a squeegee that I thought was just part of the service, but then they charged me $8 for it. A gas station style, exterior only wash. Lots of microtransaction type sale items that cranked a $45 oil change, at most, to $75. That was refusing the more expensive synthetic and high mileage conversions. Duck Jiffy Lube. Never again. CPE Inc. I signed up to take a mandatory ethics course with them in order to renew my CPA license. It was set up so that my employer would pay for it. I took the course and heard nothing about it and assumed all was fine and dandy. 4 months later they contact me on a Friday night to tell me they never received payment. I told them I'd check with my employer on Monday. So, that Monday I checked with my employer and they told me they'd look into it. On Monday night, I checked my personal email and see that CPE Inc. had sent me an email about how horrible it is that I haven't paid them in 120 days. The payment is past due and that if I don't pay now, they literally capitalized it and used an exclamation point, that they would send me to a collection agency. It ended up getting worked out with my employer paying them a couple days later. Their attitude with how they contacted me after not hearing from them during all that time sealed the deal for me. I will never use them again. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.